How long? I want to make sure we get all of them on the record. All right, let's go ahead and call to order the March 6th Health and Emergency Services Committee, 5 o'clock. Mr. Hyde, if you would give our invocation, please.
Father, we thank you for the opportunity that we have to once again serve you today. We pray especially today, Lord, for family, friends, and neighbors who may have been touched by the storms of Friday, and we just hope that you will wrap your loving arms and protective arms around the families and comfort them. May we all pull together to give the support that this community needs at this time. We pray, Lord, that the decisions that we make here at the County Commission tonight, will be such that it will be in the best interest of the kingdom of God. We pray in thy name.
Amen.
Amen. All right, before we have an approval agenda, each committee member should have a resolution allowing the counties of Sumner and Robertson County call out for services in order to better serve the citizens and visitors to the area. We will add that under 14B if there's no objection. Hearing no objection, we'll consider that added under 14B under new business. So have a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
So moved by Commissioner Harris. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Bergdorf. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed. Right on through the agenda, approval of the minutes from February the 6th, 2023. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
So moved by Commissioner Schmidt, second by Commissioner Janung. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed. Recognition of the public. Anyone here wishing to speak on any item that's on the agenda? Seeing none, we'll consider that closed. Report of the chair I'll reserve for comments as we go through the agenda. Report of the county mayor.
Yeah, I just want to talk just a minute about Friday for the incident with the wind and the storms. I had an opportunity to spend some time with EMA, EMS, and 911 operators, and they did an outstanding job trying to field all the phone calls, dealing with all of the destruction that was out there. They worked in through Saturday on that and still working today on it. So I want to give a big shout out for all of our first responders that worked on that. Today we had some of our Sheriff's Patrol and EMA Patrol go and pick up the young lady from the Amit's office, escort her back, and that was a very sobering moment to be part of that. But again, they represented Sumner County very well. And that's the end of my report, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Report of the sheriff.
Good evening. Total deposits for the month were $24,588. You'll see a note in there that's down. We didn't get the check for the commissions on the commissary until March 1st, so that'll be reflected on your next report. Also, moving forward, CTC, the telephone vendor for the jail, will start sending the check directly to finance here at the county, so it won't disperse through the sheriff's trustee account. So that'll no longer be accounted for. Total disbursements were $4,242. Last month we had 4,473 calls for service. The arrest report's attached. Average daily jail population for January was 609. You can see the criminal and civil warrants have stayed about the same. Vacancies, I'm happy to report that we have conditional offers out. There, as of right now, are no patrol deputy vacancies. We've promoted 2 from the inside, 2 from the outside. Really happy about that. We do have 2 vacancies in animal control, testing on April the 1st, if anyone's interested. Shameless plug. We have 1 clerical vacancy, but we issued a conditional offer on that one today. We still have the correctional officer kitchen vacancy, and we're down to 48 correctional officer vacancies. Again, next test is April the 1st. The TDH grant is still going to budget this month. There was some paperwork. AKC Reunite K9 grant, I'm really excited to tell you about this one. This is a grant for our 4th K9. So that'll allow us to put 2 non-aggressive tracking dogs and 2 patrol dogs and narcotic dogs on opposite rotations. So the uses are going to be endless, but really the non-aggressive tracking dogs are going to be used in Amber Alerts, Silver Alerts, runaway kids, autism. Those dogs are going to be really helpful because they're not trained to do some of the stuff that the patrol dogs are doing, and that's going to go to budget this month. The jail roof, I sent some pictures to several commissioners, was damaged pretty severely on Friday. County mayor, within 20 minutes of me sending him the picture, was on site. We were on the roof assessing the damage. It has been patched and repaired. It's a very temporary fix, so thank you to the county mayor for getting that handled. The tech visit for TCI will still be March the 7th. Jail food RFP. We are going to try something new. Typically, when we bid out jail food, we bid out every item, and then we serve it all in-house. We're going to do an RFP for that, and then we're also going to do an RFP for a vendor service that will handle everything from the dietitian all the way to service, except for the labor. We'll still provide the labor. We've talked with a few of them, and they think that they can save us some money, and they do have a whole lot more purchasing power than we do, so we hope to see some savings there. Friday storm, the mayor spoke about it briefly. Just to put it in perspective, the sheriff's office alone responded to 270 calls for service on Friday. Just for comparison's sake, Thursday, we only responded to 151. So there was a dramatic increase. It was very stressful. I was in the EOC the very first time we were going to stand it up. Things were seamless. It was awesome exercise. The public should be confident in our abilities to respond to a disaster. I was not there the second time. We were out handling calls. I was actually in the middle of the road directing traffic. So we were stretched pretty thin, but I would like to commend the deputies of the Sumner County Sheriff's Office. They provided service to the citizens of Sumner County in an exemplary manner. Any questions?
How many deputies was on there, Chief, for 270 calls roughly?
So
I know it's a crazy number.
Yeah,
but
it was probably 8 working during the day, and I would say 9 at night.
17 roughly?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Report of the fire department.
Good evening. Through February, or for February, 240 calls. I haven't received any reports from Highland Volunteer, number 1 Volunteer, or Southeast. On the second page at the top is a breakdown of the call types. Those numbers are low since I haven't gotten reports from all the departments. Windstorm, Friday through Sunday, volunteer fire departments ran in excess of 171 calls. Power lines down, trees down. There were several grass fires. There's been 3 large grass fires up in the Oak Grove, Westmoreland area. And then, not in that time period, but this morning was the fatality wreck of 25 at West Biggs Road that White House Community worked and Cottontown worked with them. In all actuality, the call count's higher. This doesn't take into account driving down the road, stopping, picking branches up and clearing it. I had a construction crew come to the fire station and say there was a tree across the road on County House, and I went down with them and we chopped it up. And I continued on down County House Road with a civilian that lived at the very end, and we picked branches up and things like that, and that's not reflected in these numbers. So a lot of man hours spent. I could hear on the radio, Gallatin Volunteer and Highland spent a lot of time out traffic control because the sheriffs were tied up in other locations. So, you know, that's where we stepped in and helped also. And also kudos to the dispatchers. They did a great job. Any questions?
Thanks, sir. Emergency Services Director.
Good afternoon. You have your packet from us. The first page there is our call volume broken down per station. I was asked prior to the meeting, if you look at the station 1, that does include the 5 BLS trucks, so you do see an increasing volume there, but that's the station has the BLS trucks. Station 6 does have a higher call volume, but taking into consideration there are 2 ambulances at that station. The next page over is our calls versus transports, and you can see there our call volume for January and February along with our transports. Keep in mind that February is 3 days short of a month, so that number is historically always down because of that. Your third page is going to be your revenue. The Yellow is our month of February, so if you look at January, it was a little over 799,000. So our February numbers were over 820,000. Those are two very good months. Anywhere from our crews that are running the calls and getting the correct information from the start to our billing department that does a good job, getting these calls sent out and they're correct when they're sent out, so there's no denials, and we're reaping that benefit.
I
Yes,
have a
ma'am.
question on your billing. How many days, when you submit your information for the billing purposes,
Mhm.
how long does it take them to send to the billing? And, because Medicare, CMS has specific guidelines about reimbursement.
Well, our billing department tries to stay within 48 hours of the call ran.
Okay.
So you have to take into consideration the call volumes on the weekend, so they get, Monday, they're a little behind because they're working on Friday, that type of thing. But the goal is to have the call ran and it to be sent out within 48 hours.
Okay, so is there a specific policy about how, for me, I document and I have to get my information to the billers
Mhm.
within 48 hours. Do you have a policy that on their requirements for getting their information to put in the system and to the billing,
Yeah, ours is 48 hours.
Okay.
Like our crew has to have their run ticket done before they leave their shift.
Okay.
All their tickets have to be in. So once they are in, there's instances where that very next day, so the calls that are run today, there are instances that we are already starting to bill those calls by tomorrow afternoon.
Now, on the biller side, okay, so the North Carolina side.
Mhm.
So when they send it to North Carolina, how long does North Carolina take to get you back your reimbursement for your, how long does it take them to get your reimbursement back to you?
Well, it kind of depends. Most of the time Medicare, once they receive it, it's within about 14 to 21 days that we're getting
Right.
that money back.
Right,
A commercial insurance like your Blue Cross Blue Shield, stuff like that, it may take a little bit longer.
okay,
It may, if it's a clean call and it goes out and everything is correct and it gets sent quickly, we're usually seeing that money back within 30 to 45 days. And like I said, Medicare and Medicaid, TennCare usually is quicker than that.
what is your largest, and I don't know if this is the correct place for this, but what is your largest, I would assume some of them are charity cases, things like that.
Mhm.
What is your, do you know the percentage of those that you're not getting paid for as far as, because, if you see a loss in the revenue,
Mhm.
is it your ratios? I mean, I know you have Medicare, Medicaid. Medicaid's not usually a
So-
big payer.
Medicare is usually about 55 to 58% of our payer mix.
Right,
So, and we just went over this, and I actually have the report on my desk from our billing department. I want to say it's 10 to 12% for private pay, which would be no insurance.
okay.
So it's pretty
So
slim.
12% of your income is not provided
Well, that's 12% that is billed not to insurance, just to
to the individual.
patient.
Yeah.
So, and as far as what, I'd have to get those numbers for you, I'm sorry, I don't wanna quote
I didn't mean to
something
put you
that
on the
isn't
spot,
correct.
but I was just trying to figure out how that's done because of,
Mhm.
if there's a profit loss or something like that as far as billing and, I know there's guidelines for that, so I was
Okay.
just curious.
I will get back and work on that, and I'll get that to
Daryl, you
the
can send it to
chairman, and
Daryl.
he can
Mhm.
get it sent out if that's
Sure.
okay. That's
Thank
acceptable.
you, thank you,
You're
sir.
welcome.
Appreciate it.
Just want to point out real quick, we are at a little over 5.1 million in revenue so far, so we're doing really well there. Last page, you will see the responses outside of the county. So for February, we had 31, and you can see those broken down. Now, the misleading thing here is the Davidson County at 12. Those will be Goodlettsville calls, so we're not going actually into Davidson County because they take care of all their 911 calls. What those will be, if it's inside the city limits in Goodlettsville or Metro Fire, EMS, they respond. and it's gonna be transported to this, inside this county, we do that transport. So that's where those numbers come from. Robertson County did respond into our county 43 times last month. And like I said, I will continue to build this data out so that we can get a better tracking on it. Any questions on that?
No, but I do have a compliment for y'all. I got a huge kudo to your, one of the facilities I go to told me today that the girl that does the arrangements for non-emergency transport, she,
transport coordinator?
yeah, she does a phenomenal job for them, and they just appreciate it because it's hard for these facilities with transporting and patients getting out to appointments and dialysis and all that kind of stuff. But huge kudos to her. They said that she did a great job.
I will pass that along
Okay,
tomorrow.
thank you.
That is a very important
It is.
position.
It really
And what she's talking about is we have a, Hope Cantor is her name, she's our transport coordinator. Every BLS call that comes in, she does the scheduling, she helps them get the insurance pre-authorization. Well, she makes sure they have them, we can't call and get them. But she makes sure that's done, the medical necessity forms are done, she takes care of all that. So before the ambulance rolls, she's got all the paperwork in line for us. Real quick, just want to let you know that our Lucas 3 devices, every other day, we're starting to get stuff in for those. They should totally be in, everything be in on the 14th. And the rest of that week, we're going to work to get everyone trained so we can get those out as quickly as possible. We thank y'all for that. I want to let everybody know that on Friday from 2 to 4 at our training facility there over on Airport Road at headquarters, we're going to be having a retirement celebration for Faye Snow. She's a paramedic that put in 30 years. She hit her 30 years in January, so she's going to be leaving us. But more than welcome to get out. We do have, we're finishing up, I think actually the invitation is done, so I'll make sure to get that out to everyone, but we'd love to have you over for that. One other thing that's kind of going along with the Friday stuff, we all know it was crazy. ECC did a great job. My crews did a great job. They responded. Everything went as well as could be expected. We did have some of my employees that are back here now. They did come in on their off days to help. We had administrative staff jumping on ambulances to spin more ambulances up to help with our call volume. EMA done a great job working. I'd put our public safety team against anybody else in this state, anybody in this country. We're blessed to have what we have, so thank y'all.
Appreciate it.
Any questions?
I got one question. Was there any damage to any of the emergency vehicles during any of that storm?
We did have a limb fall on Medic 4. It cracked a windshield and put some dents in it. The windshield was being replaced today. The dents are more cosmetic. There's nothing really performance based on that. Our mechanics looked it over really good, gave it a,
I heard
you
about
know,
that. I
yeah,
just
so
want to make
it's-
sure everybody was okay and nobody
Yeah.
got hurt in the incident.
No, we had that, and then Station 6 our Portland station did have some shingles blowed off that, but that was, with the agreement, that was sent to Portland Fire, and they're gonna get that taken care of, so. Anything else?
Staffing wise.
Staffing wise, good question. We have 7 openings. We are working to get interviews scheduled this week. We're hopefully gonna start those next week. We'd like to give them about a week so they can get prepared for that. We're hoping to have 1, if not 2 days of interviews. We've put that out on Indeed and on Facebook, and we're starting to get in those applications now. So I've probably got, I'd say 20 applications right now that we need to go through and start calling. So hopefully after this next hire, we can be, if not fully staffed, quite close. Thank you.
Emergency management.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Commissioners. So we talk about preparedness. One thing that John Michael and I were talking about the other day was getting ready for these meetings. And I like to have any report prepared by Friday. I put it in a file, put it in my truck, because we don't know what's gonna happen. Well, that didn't happen Friday, so my next go-to on that is about 6 o'clock Monday morning, get in there early, get it knocked out. So this morning, Cottontown and White House Community started out with a fatal crash on Highway 25 West, almost 31W. So this morning started off kind of like Friday ended. So I didn't get that prepared. But when we talk about what happened Friday, leading up to Friday, and I'll tell you this, I don't want to make any of the commissioners complacent with the emails I send out. I try to send emails out that have been vetted in regards to, does this look like it's going to be bad weather? So we were getting all these different reports, and we talked to many different meteorologists, even meteorologists down in northern Alabama, to tell us what they're thinking about what's going to go on here from an outside perspective. This particular prediction had us kind of looking at it saying that it could be bad. We stood the EOC up that morning. We talked to the police chiefs, fire chiefs, EMS, sheriff's office, in contact with Toby Ellis regularly. And EOC is active, and the storm comes through. And we're just sitting looking. We knew some wind was going to come in behind it. But I'm 42 years in public safety, and I've never seen anything like this on such a widespread scale. Probably the closest thing that I can remember this is the 09 ice storm. Although, in talking to some of our power providers, they think this is going to be worse than the 09 ice storm. So, when it looked like everything had passed, we went back to normal operations in the EOC. Then the wind hit, so we stood it back up. And when we had it stood up, we had EMS, Sheriff's Office, ECC, and we typically don't call any municipalities in unless a tornado comes through a specific area. Case in point, the 06 tornado, we had the Gallatin mayor, Hendersonville mayor, Gallatin police and fire chiefs, Hendersonville police and fire chiefs, and state representatives from TEMA, and a lot of other people in the Emergency Operations Center. So this was a little different. It was bad, but it wasn't a tornado where we had a defined path. So we had a lot of damage. And Christy's going to give you some numbers that you're going to look at and say that's a lot of numbers in regards to what her staff answered and the calls that public safety ran in Sumner County. And in addition to that, Compton Fire received some damage to their station, and there are some other buildings throughout the county. So what we're doing going forward is we're in the process of doing damage assessment. So there's two parts to what we do. One being individual assistance, which helps our citizens, and we have to have a minimum of 25 homes that are destroyed or have major damage. And we're going to have to hunt for those because they're not just going to jump out, and we're going to have to get out and look for those. Okay, we went through we had a document that we were sharing on Google Drive for damage from the ECC to my staff and EMS staff, and it's got like 1,700 entries on it for reports of trees or power lines. So I had my secretary look through that today, and there are no homes mentioned on that. So this response went into the night, into Saturday, into Sunday, and we've still got some people who don't have power. Okay, and I can tell you that the power company is doing everything they can do to get power restored. Some of those issues are going to be the service drop going to the house, and that's going to take an electrician. And if people call, we let them know, make sure that the service interest going to your house. Most cases they're underground, but in a bunch of our older houses, they're overhead, and they've got the overhead. I mean, and that's just the way it is. A lot of times they get pulled down. So the next part to that is public assistance. So the county has to have $871,000 and some change in damage, and that is to utilities, buildings, infrastructure, parks, things like that, and emergency protective measures. CEMC thinks they're going to have about $500,000 in damages. Plus we've got NES, Gallatin Department of Electricity, Tri-County, then all of the municipalities, the damage to the county. And that's something that we probably need to talk about going forward is there is a match required on this. It's a 75-25, but we can use volunteer hours and administrative for part of that 25. Typically the state covers 12.5 of that 25, so it becomes 12.5% obligation, and we can offset as much of that as we can. through administrative, volunteer work, and things like that. So that's something, but I have a responsibility to compile the preliminary damage assessments to get those to TEMA for a requested presidential declaration. And the main thing there is to help our citizens. The secondary thing is to help us, okay? That's pretty much my report on that. If you have questions, I'd be happy to answer those.
Thank you
I
for
have
everything.
a question on the weather related, something you mentioned at the very beginning. I did want to take an opportunity to ask a question, but make a request also to a lot of the people here in the room that very rarely are all together at the same time. So you mentioned the crash, the fatality on Highway 25. My brother lives right in that curve, and he reports to me every time there is a crash, and lots of them are fatalities. It's been an ongoing recurrence over the last 10 years that he's lived there. He tells me every time, there's another one, there's another one, there's another one. Is there anything we can do to coordinate between the Sheriff's Department, EMS, and the Highway Department to look at doing something for safety on that curve? I don't know what the answer is, but I think that's there. It's
That's
something between you
state
guys.
highway.
Yeah.
So
Is
the
that
first thing
state?
I would do to reach out,
Okay.
would be to reach out to state highway, and we can do that.
Is it something you guys can do the research and see the
Yeah, we'll
numbers
reach out, I'll
of
get
what
with
it is?
EMS
and
and
then
Sheriff's
report
Office.
it?
And we'll get some numbers on crash statistics there.
Yeah,
And we'll reach out to TDOT.
I would appreciate
Yeah.
that. I told
Yeah.
them I'd ask that, and you guys seem to have the right number of people here tonight.
Yes, sir.
That's good, thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you,
Appreciate it,
sir.
sir. All right, ECC.
Good evening. So in your report, the first page, of course, is the update of the number of 911 and admin calls that we received. I do apologize, my update did not include the update in the numbers. However, your numbers are correct. The second page is the 911 calls, 3,733, and admin calls, 10,671. On the next page is the number of police calls that we received and processed, 13,392. The third page is 2,174 fire calls, and then the last page is 2,007 EMS calls. Next, I want to go along with everyone else, talk about our team. They did a phenomenal job on Friday. On average, we run or process 853 calls through the ECC a day. That's admin and 911 calls coming into the center. On Friday, we processed 2,201 calls for the day. Between the hours of 12 p.m. and 4 p.m., we processed 1,036 calls just in those 4 hours. Of those 4 hours, we processed a total of 392 calls that were actually dispatched for service. And then after that, for the next 4 hours, we processed another additional 529 calls. The peak calls was in the 2 o'clock hour, and the storm that Mr. Weiner was talking about came in at 12 o'clock. So the peak of the storm or the wind event came around the 2 o'clock hour. So that's when we received the most number of calls, which was 329 calls during that 1 hour. We have 18 stations in our center. 2 of those stations are down right now for hardware upgrades for our phone system. So we had 16 stations operational. 16 of those stations were fully occupied by our TCs as well as our command staff. We did not have enough people because of those 16 people, only about 6 of them were able to take calls because the others had to be logged out of their phones to man the radios. We had people on fire channels who were having to cover 3 or 4 fire channels at one time because everybody in the county was on their fire channels and they were having to cover multiple channels at one time. Also, in the 11 o'clock or 1 o'clock hour, 275 calls, and then in the 3 o'clock hour, 248 calls. After that, the calls started to drop down to around the 100 calls per hour until 8 o'clock, then it started dropping below 100 calls per hour. And then on for our staffing, as of my update this morning, it was 7, but since then we had 1 employee that, a trainee that decided to resign due to personal issues. So we're now up to 8 shortage. We are doing interviews this past week and this week. We have already offered 2 conditional offers, and we're hoping to offer 2 more conditional offers by the end of this week, which would bring our shortage back down to around 4 by the end of the month. And that's the update for the ECC.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Sorry. You brought up the fact that you didn't have enough people.
Yes.
And so going forward, since you you always troubleshoot afterwards, what plans do you have as far as trying to troubleshoot how that can make it better?
So we had all of our stations manned that particular day.
Yes,
When Mr. Widener got the command station opened up, we did have 2 additional that we could set up, and we were getting those prepared and ready to go. But at that point, we did not have the stations prepared and ready to go. We did actually have employees calling in asking, hey, can I come in and help? We had nowhere to put them at that given moment.
Okay.
However, some did come in on their own accord, and we were completely appreciative of that. Others came in again of their own accord, even though we didn't have places for them, which did allow relief for others who had been taking over hundreds of calls during that time. We do have our backup site, which has 7 stations at the Hendersonville Police Department. However, some of those are not fully functional because of not having all of our anti-alley information on our phone systems. Not only that, when we're so tied up in this position, the best option would have been have our fire and EMS dispatchers at that location. But again, we had 4 people on fire and EMS, and to move them from there, we're taking them off a radio to get them there. And by the time someone else would have gotten there, they're already covered up.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
So to expound upon that, going forward is, can you guys talk to Hendersonville about getting that station better ready for a large event?
Well, I think, like Mr. Widener said, none of us were prepared for this, or even were aware that this would become this large.
Correct, but you said even if you were, the equipment and
So the
station
equipment is
wasn't
on
ready
us.
for it,
The
right?
equipment is on us in 911.
Yeah.
And we are trying to make that location completely standalone. So right now, it's considered a DR or a extension of our current center. If this center was to go down, it's not 100% standalone.
Right.
So we can't just jump up from here and go there if that one was to go down. By the time the radios are finished here, it will be standalone. But until that is done, we can't do that. But we are working on trying to get it completely redundant for that purpose.
And they're working on that radio repeater now, right?
Radios,
Director
yes.
Guthrie, yeah.
Yes. But even if the ECC had to be evacuated, we would be going from 18 stations to 7.
And then, I'll just say from personal experience, this is one of those natures of the beast. When you
Right.
hope it never happens, but there's no way that you can have enough telecommunicators and radio operators there when this system comes. And the sad part of it is you never know when a wreck's gonna happen on top of all this, so that rollover's gonna have to go outside of your PSAP. So let's hear from Director Widener, and let's wrap this up,
So.
because we still have 4
That's
items.
kind of the point I was gonna raise. This very possibly could be the worst case scenario, because we got every agency in the county
Right, being affected.
talking a lot, not isolated to
One
the path of
jurisdiction.
a tornado through, in '06, the 2 most populated cities in the county. There were a lot less agencies talking then than the whole county talking. So this
Correct.
very well could be the worst case
Right,
scenario.
the whole
It was
point,
countywide.
the whole
Yeah.
point of my question was that, this probably won't ever happen again like this, but did it show us a snapshot of what it could be? And did you find things that you could do to
Absolutely.
help in the future? That's
I
Yes.
don't think, we
That's
didn't
good,
lose any
that's all.
calls, so that's huge, we didn't lose any calls. Everybody was challenged and they shown, okay, they did well, they did real well.
They did a phenomenal job, and I will tell you, even in themselves, they felt like they did not do their best job, but I can
For
tell
sure.
you that they did a phenomenal job. Even Director Guthrie from 911 had his employees coming over helping call the power companies and things like that to free them up to make sure that they were still able to answer their radios and answer their phones.
I had 2 dispatchers, I think Mayor Isabel saw, she said, I'm done. One of them said, I'm done, I'm quitting.
But she
When
kept
the
going.
day's over. But when the day was over, I went and talked to her, she gave me a hug, and she said, I'm okay now.
Yeah.
And they were highly stressed.
She said, I'm done, but she even stayed over to help the next shift.
Well, give them all our thanks. Thank you.
Yes.
Well,
Thank you.
it was a perfect example of everybody working together.
Absolutely.
Yeah, everything didn't go perfect, but things went well.
Well,
How
you
about
know
that?
what I mean.
Yeah.
You know what I mean.
Yes.
All right, thanks, guys, and thanks again for everybody's help. We appreciate it. All right, so old business, status of station tours. I'll just be candid with the committee. I'm in no mindset of going over the station tours unless somebody has something that they want to add to it.
I've been looking at stations, but I'm not ready to give my presentation.
Perfect. Sounds great. So we'll just leave it as old business. Is Southeast here? I was hoping Chief Johnson would be here. I asked for this to be added back to the agenda. Sorry, Clerk, I'm under 13B, the status of driveway repairs. I think we sent this to budget. If anybody else, any other commissioners are here, I'll make note to address
Yeah,
you.
it
But
did.
I think we went to budget. I don't know where it went from budget.
I don't know because,
Back on highway tonight. Good, thank you. All right. So, this brings us up to 14A.
Is B dead now?
No, we'll just let B ride, and then if they take care of it in highway, then it'll just fall off. If that's the legal way to do it. I'm not telling you. Sorry. So, first of all, as a chairman, I want to apologize to EMS and Sumner County. I have never in my life seen something turn out to be the way this is. I want to apologize for the way you've been spoken to. I want to apologize for the way you've been talked to. And I want to apologize for the way you've been talked about. No way ever should that have happened. I don't care if it's from the mayor to the county commission. The morale is low enough, and then to have somebody ask, why did you go around their back to get to somebody else, is absolutely crazy. And I'll say, I'm sorry. That is not the conduct that Sumner County should be known for. And it absolutely burns me up. We talk out one side of our mouth of how much we appreciate you, and then we talk down our nose out of the other side. I'm sorry. But it burns me up.
Mr. Chairman.
I'm not ready yet, sir. Thank you.
Just explain more about that.
I'm not ready yet, sir. So as we go through this package that we have here, I want to lay the groundwork of where I'm coming from. Received an email from our county mayor of a resume that was used to hire the current outgoing chief of EMS. I did some research and I don't think what we're being told is totally correct. CTAS archive shows Chief of Sumner County Emergency Medical Service reports to the county executive. Job description 2.5.00 prepared by Chief Douglas states that they report to the county executive. 1, 2, 3, page 4 has a residency requirement. The EMS chief must live within Sumner County or relocate to Sumner County within 3 months of acceptance of employment. On page 4, item number 6 has a color discrimination that's mentioned. Ability to perceive or recognize similarities or difference in colors and shades of other values of the same color. When I look at the Sumner County EMS job description provided by the mayor's office, this says that the chief is responsible for effective communications with Sumner EMS medical director, municipal clients, health and emergency services committee. That committee wasn't formed until September of 2022, so I don't know how that could be in there. And the mayor of Sumner County, outgoing chief, was hired in 2018. The county executive didn't become a county mayor until 2019. So I have some discrepancies there. I, as the chair, also have some concerns of the email that Mayor Isabel sent out today with his signature at the bottom of it. That the last recommendation didn't accept the appointment. So he found John Michael Pauls was the most qualified to lead the department. John Michael, no disrespect to you, sir, and I hate that you're being almost wrapped up in a political battle, but I want to stand for what's right. And if I don't think we're getting true and transparent information, I don't want you to be stuck in the middle.
Understood.
So I say that to ask if the committee is okay to suspend the rules to allow the mayor to explain what I found to believe to be some conflicts in the resume that's sent out, the job description that's sent out, and then what qualifications and who else was nominated besides John Michael Pauls. So do I have a motion by the committee? So moved. So moved by Commissioner Smith, second by Commissioner Harris. The rules are suspended. County Mayor, do you have any questions or comments or concerns?
Well, I don't know what information you're presenting. I did not see the timeline. I will tell you what, to protect some information of some of the individuals, I'm going to try to do that as best as possible. When Chief Miller resigned, or retired, excuse me, he retired, we talked about a leadership plan.
Correct.
We talked about a succession.
Correct.
And that succession was the assistant chief. The assistant chief, after discussion, decided not to take that. He also did not want to take interim chief. So as of March 1, we had to have a chief in place. So that involved me naming another one. And I named John Michael Boss as interim chief. We had a meeting with the command staff, and that meeting was from last Friday, I think. And through that discussion, John Michael emerged as the person. Okay? So I felt confident that he would be the guy to lead this agency. I felt it was very important that we hire from within due to the instability, due to all the talking out there about EMS.
Mm-hmm.
And as you so
And I agreed with
so
you.
well put. And I felt that we needed to hire from within. And I felt that that team was best qualified to say who they thought should lead. And that's what name came out of that. We had another meeting today. And with that meeting, there started to be some dissension, started to be some questions asked, and comments made. And at that point, I said, listen, in fairness, and I'm not going to say anything about the other two, because I've asked them to set a meeting with me. One of them has, and I want to be very fair to them too. Now that's why that came today, and that's why I asked you to remove this, to give it 1 month. Now we still have to keep him as interim. Because we have to have a chief that signs off on Medicare and that is the point person with the state. And with him in as interim, I have no problem waiting a month. Speak to these other two that feel that they were, that they wanted the position as well. I thought we had all that settled that week. It seemed to me it was when we all talked about it. Today, I got a different tone. Having gotten that different tone, I felt it's best that I step back, and in fairness to those two gentlemen, that I step back and I talk with them as well.
Commissioner Jones, is it directed toward the mayor, or is it a question?
No question for the
Just
chair.
be reminded, we're out of session.
Sure.
The rules are suspended, so it
Okay.
needs to be going to the mayor. If it not, we'll go back into session, and then you can ask your question.
Well, it could be to either. So, I mean, I guess I'll ask this. I know you're being careful for some reason, but there was a meeting that was arranged that was supposed to be in the commission's best, in this committee's best interest to do some discussion with certain people. And I was not able to come to this meeting because it was arranged during hours that I could not be there. And that may be the case for some other people. I don't know who all came, I don't know who all didn't come. But a lot was just said there between two people at the ends of the table that I have no clue what you guys are talking about. There may be others. But if you guys can tiptoe around that the best you can to give us a clue as to what kind of animosity is going on, and just let me know. And some of the others that may not have been at that meeting, I'm assuming that was about this meeting. The apologies that were made from the chair of this committee that I'm a part of, I would like to know what that's about.
I'll be happy to address that once we go back into session. Anything else?
Thank you.
If not, we'll close that and bring it back into session with the committee that's at the table. So exactly what I stated was, I didn't go to any of the meetings because I just didn't go. I don't like it. It's not good, in my opinion. I didn't go. I think that, all right, so going back to the questions that I stated is because I went back through and I put the timeline together and I did some homework just because my gut didn't feel right about the job description and the timeline of the said job description and what matched on that job description because of contacts and conversations that I've had with other employees at EMS. And obviously, with what I've went through and put together, I have reason to believe that what I've been told from the employees at EMS and plus what I've found adds up. I still have reason to believe that the job description that we was told from the mayor's office that addresses that's the one that put Chief Miller in his spot, or now ex-Chief Miller, in his spot. I don't believe that it's right because it has health and emergency services in it. That committee wasn't formed until September of last year. How's that there? And then they talk about the mayor of Sumner County. He was hired in 18. It wasn't mayor to or executive to mayor until 19. How did that get changed? I don't know, guys. And it's just, and then you go through here and you read, must live within the county or be relocated within 3 months of acceptance of employment. We all know Chief Miller came from Gatlinburg. Talked to some people. I believe there's some ADA discrimination in here, talking about color differentiation, for lack of better terms. Talk to the people at EMS, and they can tell you what that come from. They may not now because of retaliation, but they'll tell you where it come from. And then you go on back and trace it down, and CTAS's archive says county executive that was attached to the email or the resume, job description, if you will. I'll get the word out in a minute. That brought Chief Miller here. And then it comes back to the private act from CTAS, which we like to talk about so much, and our legal department, that 2019 is when it was put together as mayor versus county executive. So with that, I don't like it. I don't like it a bit. I called state EMS today asking for direction as chairman of this committee, asking what was our options. And where do we stand in a county of 214,000 people, and people want to play games with other people's health, safety, and welfare? I don't like it a bit. The only thing that the state told me is we had to have an interim chief in place, and that interim can be as long as we need it to be. So having that said, for the best interest of Sumner County, 214,000 people, roughly, that travels in and out of here, Mayor, I ask that you have an ad hoc committee. We put names together. I want it to be composed of myself, some other commissioners, and we open this up.
Before I make that decision, I'd like to see those documents because that conflicts with what I sent out.
So now I printed out something different than what you sent?
Well, I'm looking, I don't see Health and Services Committee.
It didn't have to be Health and Services Committee, sir. You're the one that sent it out to all county commissioners, I believe.
Well, I need to review it a little closer. This is what I received, and if it's inaccurate, I'll take responsibility for it.
I didn't make your email address on it.
No.
It had who it's come from.
No, I'm looking at the document that I sent out, and I'll read it a little closer because I can't see it very well. I was looking for my glasses. But,
So do we need to take a recess? Because I don't want to move until we have a decision on this matter.
I will entertain that option. And I'll make up the ad hoc committee,
On it,
and I'll be happy to have you part of it.
and it composed of chairman, citizens, and hospital staff across the county.
Absolutely.
Have a motion?
Second.
So move out, second by Commissioner Harris. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Thank you. All right. Then we have the resolution allowing Sumner and Robertson County to be neighbors and provide service. My understanding is the county attorney from Robertson County, Clyde Richard, is willing to take, is at the point to take this to White House and Millersville, and to get their opinions on it, and then they'll bring it back as a fell swoop, and then have everybody else give our blessing, I guess, if you will.
There will be a separate contract entered into based on everybody's mirror resolutions.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what we was wanting to get to back when we started this whole fiasco anyway.
And you've done it in the past as well.
Yeah, yeah. So we just need a motion so legal can send this, actually, will it go to full commission or will it go to legal
Full
before?
commission.
Okay. All right, so we need a motion to get it on the floor, full commission.
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Harris, second by Commissioner Wright. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Anything else for the good of the cause? Before we do adjourn, EMS, I want you to understand something. I do appreciate you. I'm not gonna just sell the farm for free. I don't want you wrapped up in the mess, friend. I'll fight for you, but we'll do what's right. Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Thank you.
Keep those lights behind you.
Do I need to stop captures? Stop captures?
Stop capture.